Hi, I'm Amy and I'll be your ProForce Always Live tutor. Remember, we're here 24/7 to help you get started on your ProForce journey. In this class, we'll demonstrate how to generate accurate predictions in most scenarios without coding or even using spreadsheet functions. As you know, ProForce was designed to be so easy and so fast that it can be used at point of sale. To achieve this, we use color. Each color corresponds to a different function, allowing the software to apply complex algorithms based on your color choices in just a few clicks. Most scenarios you encounter will only require the blue color. Blue columns are dependent columns. That simply means that they are influenced by other blue columns when changes to values in those other columns occur, and vice versa. They can influence other blue columns when they experience a value change themselves. Basically, everything affects everything. Here, let me show you. In this example, I am going to select the columns I wish to change. Then I will select Mark as Dependent Column. Notice all the columns I chose turn blue. Believe it or not, we're ready to make some pretty useful predictions. Let's say, for example, I want to explore the same overall design but a different premium amount. Perhaps the client only wants to spend $75,000 a year and not $100,000. I simply change the first premium cell knowing that all subsequent premiums will automatically change in a blue column. I also know that because all of the other columns are blue, they will change as well, and those changes will match the original patterns learned from the original illustration. I can now click Predict All to create my first very useful and very accurate prediction using the color blue. As you can imagine, blue columns are used in many popular scenarios. They also yield the most accurate predictions of any other color. In most cases, accuracy is just under 100%. So whenever you can solve your problem using only the blue color, you should always favor blue. And remember, our goal is to quickly explore different possibilities that will shed light and help us all arrive at better decisions. Not to reverse engineer an illustration system. Once a decision is made, an actual illustration with all of its important disclosures will be required. This is exciting. What else can be accomplished with blue? Let's create another prediction. But this time, let's pretend the client would like to change income from $195,000 to, I don't know, $250,000 maybe? How much would that cost? Let's find out. First, we'll go back to the Predict page and click the Reset button so we can make a second prediction. Next, we will highlight all the columns we want to change and color them blue. Finally, let's change the first income cell to $250,000 and again click Predict All. Voila! We now know what it costs and what all the other numbers look like as well. We won't have time to cover every blue scenario, and no doubt you'll discover new use cases. But let's just quickly do one more. Remember, we go back to the Predict page and click the Reset button to prepare for another prediction. Now let's assume the client would like to see $4 million of death benefit at age 65. How will that affect premiums, and what will that do to his retirement income? Let's find out. And there it is. You're doing great, by the way. Let's try adding yellow to the canvas. Let's assume we want to project future values of a policy you sold 4 years ago based on accumulation, surrender, and death benefit values from a recent account statement. You notice that the actual death benefit did not change by the same percentage as the account and surrender values. In that case, you will want to make the death benefit independent of the other columns by painting it yellow. It will still follow the patterns of the original ledger, but will be adjusted by the actual death benefit you enter. Let's mark the columns accordingly. And change the values. This time we're going to click Predict Forward, since we are already in year 4. And there you have it. A projection of a policy that is already in force based on the original illustration patterns. Now let's paint with green. You use green to change one or two numbers in a column without changing the other numbers in that same column, while influencing blue columns to change. These are sometimes called driving force variables because they drive other columns but not their own. Perfect for changing one or two premiums. Let's try it. Perhaps we want to see what happens if we skip the fifth premium payment altogether. First, let's make the premium column a green input column. Then let's delete the fifth premium. We also must mark the other columns that we want to be affected. Next, we'll click the Predict All button, and in just a few seconds, we are able to explore another possible scenario. How easy is that? Finally, let's explore the color gray. You probably won't use this often, but when you need it, you'll be glad it's there. Let's repeat the last scenario, but now let's assume the client is deciding in year 4 whether to skip the fifth premium. We might want to ignore the prior years in some of the columns. We can do that by graying them out. Let's try. As you can see, we select all the columns and mark them. Then we can select the blue cells that we want to turn gray so they are left unchanged. Finally, we click Predict All. As you can see, the blue columns changed, but the gray cells in the blue columns were unaffected. Now let's take a moment to review. Blue columns change other columns and can be changed by other columns. They are needed in almost every use case. Yellow columns are independent or isolated. Changes ripple through their own column but do not influence other columns. Green columns drive blue columns but are not influenced themselves. And gray cells are just ignored. Thank you for watching Proforce always. Remember, we're here for you, always.